Yes, welcome back to MIG Liquidity Edge. We have a huge new update for the absorption flow indicator, those big green and red bubbles that show us the absorption within specific areas. We've expanded the engine to not only spot that absorption, but to dynamically track extreme anomalies, volume anomalies specifically, and map out key structural levels in real time. The result, a much cleaner chart, deeper insights into buying versus selling pressures, and automated visual management so you can focus strictly on price action. So we'll jump straight onto the chart if I can just really quickly. There we go. Um, Straight onto the chart. This is the new update. There's settings. It may look cluttered, it may look confusing, but we've built in a brand new volume point of control. That system triggers strictly on high impact volume anomalies. So if you've ever traded iShit T or those FBG faggot gaps, effectively they're trying to brand a volume imbalance onto a chart by just saying if there's a gap on the candlesticks, that's a space for a retracement. What we don't get taught in retail is the same way you have an FRVP, so volume profile, and you can just trace that across charts. You get a volume area high, low, and APOC. That's the point of control where the most amount of volume are traded. And every single candlestick has a VPOC, has a point of control. So we've managed to get in very accurately, I must say, a POC within that candle. So it's no longer that full space, but in fact where the most amount of volume is traded. When a high volume event occurs, the indicator now projects that structural range fill box directly from that candle, highlighting that exact area where the major transaction took place. And when we tie that in where with our original previous V2 update, we get a really nice delta reading. There's no more guessing. We can now see exactly who's in control. We've now calculated an estimated delta percentage, and that prints right above or below the wick. And these are these numbers right here. So these are the settings we are looking at. These are my settings at the moment. We can keep this on 1 minute if you're on a 1 minute chart and then continue going higher and keeping it at 1 minute. I like to use 1, 5, or 10 seconds just to get a nice, better read on that. Premium, confirmed bars only, I turn off. I want to see the live print. And then this is obviously our VWD engine. This is the main core engine whereby we can actively see where pressure is stepping in, but more importantly, where active buyers, are participating, and more importantly, where they've absorbed selling pressure or where sellers have then absorbed a buying pressure. Profile, I keep conservative to keep my chart nice and clean. I keep upper dots on for the shorts, lower dots for the longs, mid dots I can completely remove, and the large bubbles, what we call if you've traded order book, book map, um, deep charts, Sierra charts, world charts, whatever they are. This is where we have those iceberg trades. Those iceberg trades where you can see a huge amount of contracts being placed. And I keep that at a 72. That for me is where I can truly see, I can truly expect future interaction. Again, based off of where we printed. A nice example, what I mean by that is huge buyers stepped in here, nice big threshold, and then that is where we can see better future interaction through. Aggressive buying momentum created infers that as buyers come back to that area, they will then look to trampoline off of that again. And now this is where we get the brand new extension. I keep the score length at 100, 1.25 for a high volume score. VPOC lines can be removed if you'd like it clutter free, and the exact same thing with the range fills. We can completely turn them off. The volume text and the high volume candles for me is a really nice addition so that if we were, say, running into a trend, so let us say, for example, we were looking at the possibility of, let's go to price currently, somewhere around here. This is a nice example. So let's say we were actually looking to take this long off of this area. We would have used our liquidity edge, obviously, to actively see where resting liquidity is. But if I was taking a position like this, um, what I can see now is with the new delta prints is where sellers' pressure is reducing. So if I can see that, let's say buying or selling pressure, here's a nice example, 89.64, then 27. Then we see sellers actively stepping in and have absorbed these buyers. And if I can see that delta is shifting towards more of a negative, and then I get a nice Q, it's a nice possibility for me to step in. The exact same thing here. We were running at around 60%. We had buyers stepping in. Sellers kicked in here, active sellers, that created this bar at 615. And then we see a minus 10%. So that tells us that that selling pressure is shifting over. We're moving into a more positive area. But more importantly, we then see active buyers step in. And that is a very nice cue. We already have it in an area of interest for us. And that is then our cue to then look for that extension. Better yet, if I was choosing to run off of the VPOC lines, we've coded them in so that we obviously have the color toggle for your green and red bars, but to keep the workspace nice and clean, what will happen is that those active VPOCs, they will visually fade after a set duration and then completely delete themselves once price has cleanly crossed them or after they expire. So if we were looking at a bit earlier during our London session today, we can see that as sellers kicked in 64, 59%, minus 93%, minus 92%, slight drop off. But then more importantly, we then see a plus 93 on that delta. That is kicked in. It will most probably be a very key note for all of the new users jumping on. That absorption has to take place in a key area. We can't just simply take it in the middle of a chart or the middle of price or in a range. Location for order flow will always be our first ideal cue before we then look to jump in. So if I had our liquidity edge printed, we let that load up, we can see where those pockets of liquidity are for us. So now I know that as I'm waiting for price to come up towards this level, 29,850, I can see that buyers are slowly dying out. And I'll zoom in here for you. We can see that buyers are slowly dying at 92.12, 5% with sellers jumping in is a really nice cue for me to perhaps take that short and then look for that next area of interest, or perhaps then come all the way down to where the buyers were sitting before they created that bullish momentum. Okay, so if you are already a current user, just a reminder, remove the current absorption flow from your charts, refresh your TradingView apps and websites, and then re-add it via invite-only script. If you're not, click through to the link below for purchase, or head over to our Discord. We have a free New York Live daily stream. We've been running for 25 weeks on stream with only one red day, alhamdulillah. That's me done for the day. We'll be posting up another video for the new update for Liquidity Edge coming soon.